Sunday morning. Father Moo here again. Thank you for joining us. This is one of the older patches. Very unsuccessful patch, but sounds good in the reverb. Okay. As was promised and will be delivered upon, I'm back in the regular, quote-unquote, Nord Micromodular stream. This is not part of the album creation process, which is going on in the other playlists. This is just a totally normal Father Moo start from the beginning patch, which I'm going to start from the beginning on now. Let me start by telling you a little story. In, I think it was 2003, good old Father Moo was living in Japan, working as an English teacher. And 2003 is also when I started collecting synths for the first time. And let me tell you right now, Japan in 2003 was the place to be if you wanted to collect synths. There were so many of them. They were so cheap. I bought them on Yahoo Auctions Japan. I bought a Roland Juno 6, an RS-09. I bought a Korg DW8000. I bought what else? I bought a Roland EP09. A whole bunch of old school synths, and they were all amazing, and they cost me almost nothing. Oh, I had a CS10 and a CS15, which I was smart enough to ship back to Canada and use for a few more years even after that. So that was really a golden era. But one of the coolest things I had was I went into the dollar shop there one day, and I found these speakers. They were little tiny speakers about 4 centimeters high and 2 centimeters wide. They didn't require any power, and they came on these cables that were about 4 meters long. So why was this awesome? Because I would set up my synths in my room on very, very slow loops, playing just very simple, repetitive patterns. And I would plug in the speakers and hide them around my room in nooks and crannies. I'd set the volume really, really low. So most of the time you wouldn't hear anything, and then from the far left corner you'd hear a little bleep, bleep, and a few minutes later you hear a blurble from the right corner and or something above you or behind you, and it was really neat. I called this little self-installation the Moonlight Dream Aquarium. And again, this is before I had anything modular to work with. I got the Nord Micromodular in 2004, I think it was. But the Moonlight Dream Aquarium as a concept predated that. I know this is not going to fit in my patch name, but whatever. Moonlight Dream Aquarium, there we go. So let's build one of these today. You might have already heard the concept of a noodle, which is a long, evolving, ever-changing patch on a modular synthesizer. That's part of what we're going for here. But one of the key elements of a Moonlight Dream Aquarium patch, as I created it, is it should have long silences between the notes so that you almost forget the synth is playing. It should also have a lot of variety. It doesn't really need to be tonal, although I'll probably try and keep this one in a key. So I guess my goal here today is to come up with as many voices as I can fit in my overall processing load. Those voices should be as different from each other as possible. They should be playing their little sounds very, very intermittently, or you could say they only appear briefly and then they disappear for longish periods of time. It also makes it a little bit tougher for me to demonstrate the patch because you will probably hear silence for large periods of it because that's what it's designed to do. So I may speed up the clock gen so we can hear the sounds and then dial it back down at the end. We'll sort of see how that goes. So I'm just dropping in some of the elements here that I know I'm going to be needing. I got an 8-input mixer. In an ideal world, maybe let's just do it that way. You don't hear me do a lot of stereo work on this channel because we're limited in what we can do. Oh yeah, that's right. Well, what I was going to try and do was set this up to have more stereo variation. Maybe we'll leave that for a future. If we ever need to dub down this Moonlight Dream Aquarium, we will do that there and then. But since we don't need to do that right now, let's stick with a mono output going into the same signal into left and right here, just to keep things simple. So what are some other things we're going to need? I got the clock gen running real slow. I'm going to need at least one. This is going to, I am going to do that thing where I drop in some of the pieces I know I'm going to need at some point. I'm going to need this random generator. I'm going to need random step generator. I'm probably going to need a couple of control signal mixers. This is me just trying to get the best value for money out of these random generators because I know I'm going to want to make as many voices as I possibly can. In fact, although I don't usually try to go beyond 8, I might end up going beyond 8 today. Let's set these all real slow here. Okay, so we've got a random pulse. We've got a very slow clock. Maybe we can use this guy to start to just reset this guy randomly. We're probably going to want to extend the number of steps out to something odd. 27 seems good. And we've set, as you can see, these are almost as slow as they're going to go. They are probably going to get patched into these control mixers later to create more variations on randomness without actually making new LFOs. So, yeah, let's make some voices for this. Pretty much everything I want to do here as simply as absolutely possible. So I'm just looking at what's as cheap as I can get it. I'm pretty sure C is sine wave only. Yep. Maybe a couple of slave E's will be good. And I should be able to make some interesting cross-patching to come up with some FM sounds from them. I'm going to need at least one white noise generator. Percussion Osk seems awfully affordable. He can do a lot, and he's only 4.9%, whereas even B here is 8.3, although I noticed that this one is 7.9. That's nice. It's affordable. So, again, Percussion Ost may not seem like a great choice for something which is going to have large periods of silence, but I think we could probably say maybe if we put in clocked pattern generator, then I might be able to use that to have patterns that only trigger rarely. Maybe their clock will be generated by the random pulse generator, for example. Let's just do that for now. We can always take it back. So we got 3 sine waves. We should probably... one interesting option for a voice would be to use a ring and amplitude modulator. And what else did we see there? Maybe we'll have one fancy real oscillator. Let's use a spectral and save a little bit of money. And we'll give him a nice filter. We'll even give him a nice envelope. I think yeah. We'll give him ADSR without modulation. And okay. Well, we've done some allocation there. We're at about 50%. That looks reasonable. Maybe we'll put the ring mod over here because that's technically where it goes. So you can see I've already allocated. Here's 1, 2, 3 voices, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They're not complete, but we're well on our way to 8, and we still have 50% of our processing power left. So, yeah, all we really need to do is set up some, I guess we're going to need some cheap envelopes, the cheapest one being, well, look at the difference there. AD is going to be 1.4, but ADSR is only 1.6, whereas these ones already are costing more than that. So I think I'm going to give myself some options here, try and keep my costs low. I will use this one, which has modulation in it, to try and keep things interesting. And then I'll use maybe 2 standard AD infs. And we're probably going to need at least, let's move this guy to over here. I think I'm going to try and put the envelopes over here. And we'll try and keep our processing in this part. One way I sometimes try to save processing power for Moonlight Dream Aquarium would be to run 3 voices into a mixer and then run that little sub-mixer into an audio processor to get more variety out of it. But we still haven't made any sounds yet, so let's make some. Okay. So here's a nice sine wave into ADSR. But I'm going to detune these oscillators basically randomly. And then I'm going to use them for FM purposes. So give this guy some FM here. And I'll trigger his gate from this. You can see this clock moving, although albeit kind of slowly. There we go. So we should start hearing something. Oh, let's try that again. There he is. So as I said, I'm going to dial the clock up just so we can get things moving. Kind of an interesting sound already. I noticed that I haven't created any master oscillator, which is very cheap. And why do I need it? Because I want to at least have some pitch modulation going into this oscillator so I can keep my FM weird. So I'm going to dial that in there. I think I want this one. Nice. Now we're talking. Great. It is exactly pretty much the type of weird sound I'm going for. It's not changing very quickly, but things will change slowly in this Dream Aquarium. So So let's use the output of this guy as our second voice. I think I want to patch him into the ring mod. And also send this guy to the ring mod. Ooh, you know what? Let's use the spectral OSC. That'll be nice and weird. And we don't really need much more processing on that, so let's give them a normal envelope and plug them in as voice 2 to keep things semi-rational. I'm going to move this envelope up to the second position. And I'm going to have to start gating him as well, so let's add something there for him. Did he come around yet? Not yet. Good, that's him. He's an odd little digital note. Let's try that trick. Let's try feeding a submixer and sending a submixer through a digitizer. The digitizer will go into the input here. So voice 2 is going to go into mixer 1. And I'll send some other ones here later. The point is that they will have their bits reduced by, their sample rate modified by that digitizer. That's the one. So again, I'm mixing my two CV sources. One of them is being inverted and one of them is being reduced. The output is being sent to the sample rate. So that second voice that you're hearing is the output of the ring mod. Oh, it's currently in AM position. Let's go full ring mod. Or actually, we can modulate it. Let's modulate it. Gonna make another weird CV source here. Just by dialing these down a bit, the CV will get more randomized. And then plug it into the mod depth so that the ring modulation has some variation too. Cool. Here's a more normal sine wave who hasn't run through anything crazy yet. So why don't we give him good old wave wrapper. That's a popular one. I'm going to send him into regular old voice 2. That's him, that nice high-pitched note. Oh wow, I didn't even give him an envelope, which is a terrible idea. So what he should do is go into... Let's give him this envelope, voice 3. Wow, this is actually sounding pretty cool. I'm putting less notes in the sequencer and just letting them trigger as infrequently as I can. I'm going to use this random pulse gen out as my third voice's gate. So this should be a somewhat high-pitched... there he is. That's the sine wave. Send this sine wave through the wave wrapper a bit. If you watch this light when he turns off and then turns on again, he'll trigger my sine wave. That might take a while. Off. Yeah, I heard him there. Since he's also the resetter of the sequencer, I took the beat off of the 1, because otherwise they'll just be at almost the exact same time. So we've got 3 of these semi-random voices now triggering. It is pretty similar to what I'd hoped for. Let's keep going here. Here we got percussion oscillator 1. I'm going to give him some of his traditional percussion-y sounds here. Give him a bit of decay. I hope he can be assigned a bit of random CV weirdness for his pitch. And his trigger is going to be the pattern generator, who again has a very unusual clock, or actually, maybe he's not giving enough clock at all. So, okay, I think I know what I want to do here. Try a logic processor, and we will say AND. So when this guy is on, when the random pulse gen is on, and when the normal clock gen gives a pulse, then there will be an output yes signal or a positive signal, and it will clock the pattern gen. So, in other words, the clock is always running here, but sometimes the random pulse gen is off. So when it's off, you won't get anything here, but when it's on, it'll run. So that'll make it quite an intermittent clock. Its pattern should be pretty steady, but it just won't always be on. That's it starting there. So short hits you heard. And I'm sending him here into the mixer to be processed by the digitizer as well. Maybe that's a bad idea to start. Maybe let's just hear him in the mixer itself. That's him giving those pings there. That's good. I'm going to use up a bit of my power to make some more clocking here. I decided I want another very slow but faster than the other clock at 44. And I like this idea, so I'm going to do another logic processor. And another random pulse gen, which I'm sure I will find another. I'm not going to use these just for this job. I'm going to use them for other things as well. But I like the concept here. So I'm going to, as I said, run a second pattern generator with the same basic clocking concept as the first one, but the actual outputs will be very different. Send this guy way down. What is this guy at? 14. So he's at 24, significantly higher, I guess. And he can trigger our second percussion oscillator. That's him there going do. That's good. Just to make it weirder, I'm going to take the output of this random pulse generator and use it to reset my second clock. So my second clock won't be a very normal clock after all. It's neat. I think I'm going to send this second drum to that mixer that reduces the bit rate. Good. Just adjust those settings a bit. Cool. We still have a couple of ADSRs here who haven't been driven by anything. We're still under 70%. So let's hook these up. This guy is being used for the ring mod, but not for his own sound source. Let's send him to the filter, and then send him to... Let's try this... No, let's try this envelope. And send him to the mixer. How shall we trigger him? Why don't we trigger him from this new random pulse gen that we made? There he is there. That was that sound. And he is a spectral osc. Let's give him some variation with the weird CVs here. And let's also give some weirdness to his filter. I'm feeling this is getting a bit busy, so I kind of want to slow everything down as much as I possibly can. Let's send this clock to much less. 28 and 24. Yeah, well, not much of a difference there. Maybe the random pulse gens could get even slower. They were on 20 and 14. Let's dial them way down. These guys are as slow as they're gonna get. Oh, we could have delta low on the pattern gens. Will make them play less notes. Maybe we try messing with the pitch of the spectral osc. Yep, a lot of very weirdness going on here. The last thing I can see to do here... That note is probably too long. We still didn't use our noise gen. So let's filter him. Save a little money with the multi-mode filter. I'm going to use just the high pass frequency. Here's my weird envelope AHD, attack hold decay. And I think I actually want him to have his own digitizer, yeah. There's his digitizer, and he goes into the mix here. Looks like we made 6 voices, but we should be on 7, shouldn't we? Oh, because 2 of them are being mixed together in a submixer. Right, of course. Okay, so we are on 7. Here's the bandpass out. Oh, sorry, we're using the high pass out. So we're going to have to dial this up. And we're going to have to trigger this, which we don't currently have anything to trigger it with. Why don't we use a logic delay? It's very cheap. I'm just going to take... Oh, you know what? That'll be even more interesting. Let's take a logic processor. And we'll send it both of the outputs of the random pulse gens. And we'll leave it on and. So that'll be more infrequent. Then we'll delay it by a lot. And we'll send that into the AHD. And since we got modulation inputs here, let's give them a bit of a go. I'm going to have it fade in with the attack. I'm going to keep that hold level up a bit and give them a slower decay. And then wire random modulation into those amounts. So that's him. He's that big noisy cloud, I think, anyway. Oh, that's the resonance I was turning up. That's wrong. I meant to turn up the frequency. So it's just the high frequencies coming through. Let's see when this is trigged, if ever. Switch this to OR just so we get something. There it is. That's the noise cloud. And it's going through the digitizer, I believe. Yep, there it is. So he can be up here like this. Wow, we're really getting such a variety of odd notes that are all over the place here. It's good. I'm getting close to being done here. Since I have so much processing power left, I'm going to... First of all, I'm going to try and build some of the stereo weirdness I was talking about. I don't know what will come through in the actual mono recording of this. I'm not going to stress about that too much. In fact, I guess I do know what's going to happen. You're going to hear whatever's on the left channel. So for right now, this L is all you're getting, but it's all you ever were getting, so don't freak out about it. So what I want now, I think, is in mixer. So I got 7 stereo panners here. And I have to do some rewiring. Number 1 here is going to go into here. Number 2 here. Number 3 here. Number 4 here. 5, 6, and I guess I never made a 7. Yeah, because this is a 2-voice guy. Okay. That still seems right. So then we're going to put all the left rights for each of these. This makes sense what I'm doing, right? This way my voices will be able to pan between left and right. And I'm going to assign random weird CVs to them to make them pan So that again, if you set this patch up at home, I mean the real patch, not this mono recording of the patch, you would hear especially if you set your speakers physically far apart, as my ancient Japanese speakers were, then you would get a very wide panning effect, so you'd hear a note in one corner of your house and then way over in the other corner. So there we go, all patched in. Let's maximize the amount here. Again, what you're hearing is anything that chooses to be panned left. And those pans are going to be controlled by these blue random signals, which I've already set up to control so many other parameters. So I don't have to really think about it too hard. Oops. Remember, I made 2 random sources, and then I mixed them together in 4 weird mixers to save my processing power, and then use those 6 weird CV outputs to do all the controlling here. And what's my load? 7.5. Here's probably the oddest thing you've ever seen me do, and that's saying Summit. I'm going to send only one of the mixers through a phaser. 12%. We're now at 98. Awesome. So only this left channel, which coincidentally is the one you're hearing, is going to be panned through the phaser. The phaser will also get settings that allow it to change very drastically over time. And send weird CV to that as well, please, if you don't mind. Thank you kindly. There we go. So now, not only does each of the 7 voices pan between the 2 channels, but also one of the channels goes through a phaser and the other doesn't. The other is just dry. And what can I do with my last tiny amount of processing power that's left? Can I make one more voice to get up to 98%? That's cool and weird. Yep. And can I make another logic processor? Is that too much to ask? 0.25%? It's not too much to ask. So I'm going to set it to plug this to trigger this. And I'm going to set these two or connect them to a couple of weird outputs. And I'm going to feed the bandpass output of the noise into here. Oh, we took quite a pause for the cause there. I'm going to send him into the 3rd channel of that mixer that we weren't using. That way he'll still get some panning action going on. And by the way, this is the noise filter being divided into high pass and band pass. So high pass was already going to a voice here. Here we send it to a different voice triggered in a completely different time and with different envelope settings. You get another weird noisy thing. Before I quit for the day, I'm going to take my weird... Now you see I'm at 99.7. All I can do now is really... I sure do want to save. All I can do now is really use my remaining patches What I'm going to do, I'm going to stick their random CVs into the amplitude inputs of the voices. Why am I doing that? It will randomly change their volumes over time. This will have the effect of making them quieter, not louder. But it will also have the effect of putting more space overall in my whole patch. Here I can even take an output like the envelope output of this one and run it into the amp input here. So this envelope will determine his volume level. Did I get them all? I'm going to kill the red and yellow cables just to see where the blues are. And I'm going to look at my envelopes and see if they all have inputs to their amps. It does, it does, it does, it does, and it does. Okay, great. Well, the one guys who wouldn't would be the percussion oscillators. Here they have amp inputs. You can barely see it under all the cables. But that's one. So I'm going to send that an output of an envelope. And I'm going to send that the output of an envelope. This one is probably too short. You won't get any actual signal, so I'll send him a more conventional one. So that will have the end effect of making my patch a lot quieter, which is what I think you're hearing right now. But that is what we were going for, right? See if we hear another sound here. Come on, boys. Give me some sound. There we go. A very quiet sound. I tried turning them up in the mixers, but I can't do that too much or they may distort. Okay, you see we are getting noises there now. So I'm going to close by saying one final thing. I mentioned that I'm on Patreon, and one of the tiers of support, if you join, I will actually make you one of these Moonlight Dream aquariums every month as an audio file, which you can play back on your speakers at home. You don't need a modular synth to listen to it. My Moonlight Dream aquariums are not all modular generated like this one. They may be based on samples or other field recordings, other things like that. But they're just like backing tracks that you play in the background of your life, preferably through multiple little weird speakers, and hope the goal being that you would forget about them at least some of the time and then occasionally hear them as they show up in your life. I think I may have gone too extreme with the amplitude inputs here, so I think I'm going to dial those out before I save this patch for today. It just got too quiet overall. If I had more processing power, I would use the trick that people have seen me do on here before with the velocity inputs and drums, but we don't have any processing power left, so let's save this bad boy here. So yeah, as I said also, I'm not giving up on new patch creation. This is number 5. Number 65, he probably won't make his way into the final album, but it'll be up there on the patch archive for you to listen to. So thanks again for tuning in. We made it all the way to the end of the processing power, 99.7%. This is the first time I think I've ever explained how to make a Moonlight Dream aquarium, so I hope you found it interesting. Keep swimming with those fishies, and I'll see you on Sunday morning. Father Moo out.